Good evening, everyone. It is September 6th, 2023. This is a workshop meeting of the Cold Spring Village Board. I will open with the opportunity to request a vote to add or modify agenda items. Any requests?
I'd like to vote to add an item, discussion of EV charger potential locations.
Second, or any discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, announcements. A couple of things. Yard waste gets picked up tomorrow, so put it out tonight for tomorrow.
No,
Yes,
September 14th. Next Thursday.
never mind. Gets picked up next week. Leave it where it is, but do put out your garbage tonight. Had my dates all messed up when I looked at the website.
We want to add these streets to the agenda?
They're on the agenda.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. The project at the bottom of Main Street outside the bathrooms is nearly done. We are well fortified. The 18-inch pipe has been replaced with a 36-inch pipe. Good to go. So they should be finishing up soon. And Michelle and I have our first meeting with FEMA, our first official meeting with FEMA on Friday morning. Item 3 is postponement of scheduled public hearing for chapters 126 and 127. It was scheduled for tonight. We are postponing. The governor has not yet signed the new enabling legislation relating to the upper portion of the village, but we can proceed with what was already planned. So Eliza has created a new draft, taking out those elements, which she sent to me and the clerk. We'll have the village attorney look at it, proof it, and then we'll get it back out to the public, be able to reschedule. Board business, approval of minutes, July 5th. Questions, concerns? I did not find any edits that I wished. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of July 5th, 2023.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And authorize mayor to sign agreement with Civic Plus. Civic Plus is the company that provides the template for our website. Laura and I have had some discussion about this. I think that we feel like we need to look at options in the next go round, but we don't have any capacity to do website updates right at the moment. So we should stay where we are and think about this as a budget item next year. See what we can do with what we've got, and then think about it in the next year. Any other discussion? Do you want to add anything?
Hopefully I'll hear from them soon about at least understanding what the cost is for different kinds of upgrades. And it may be that it's in our budget for this year that we could add it sooner than later, or maybe want to wait, look at for next budget cycle, look at those versus other companies. So let's see.
Cool.
What comes back.
Okay, so would someone make a motion to authorize me to sign this one?
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with Civic Plus for our website.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So C Street update is next. We have with us, sorry?
Bobcat.
Oh no, audit. I printed,
Authorized.
can I have some, I printed it yesterday.
Questions?
Oh yes, Bobcat. So this is me signing a work order for Bobcat repairs. If necessary, we need the Bobcat. We've got a lot of work to do with it. Any discussion? Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize mayor to sign the work order with vote for Bobcat repairs.
Second discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we have with us C Streak. I'm gonna put my other glasses on so that I can see you. Eliza and I have met James Baker. I think that the clerk has as well. James is the one of the owners of the C Streak company, with whom we have entered into document agreements over a number of years. In recent years, C Streak has docked at West Point to have the boat off our dock during the day while folks are visiting. It's a bit of a moving target right now because, as everyone knows, West Point sustained quite a lot of damage during the storms, and they are trying to limit the use of their dock. So James and I have had some conversations. I also spoke with the facilities person in the superintendent's office and confirmed what James is up against. And he would like to talk with us about some alternatives that he sees and would ask us to consider them. We do not yet have a contract with C Street for this year. But we're in the season where we should be. We're at the time where we should be signing it, and this has been a holdup. So go ahead, James.
Sure.
I'll introduce ourselves if you've not. Go ahead.
Hi, trustee Laura Bosey.
And
Deputy Mayor Woods.
there's Eliza.
Hello.
Take it away.
Great. Well, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and you summarized it well. So for the past 2 years, we've been running these trips to West Point. So we've designed a West Point history tour that runs along with our Cold Spring offering. And it was created, I mean, it really serves two purposes. One, while we're at West Point, while we're taking passengers to Cold Spring, we can move our boat that's going up there to West Point for the day. So it's not on the Cold Spring dock. And then it's also a great tour. It's been super popular with people coming from New York City, from New Jersey. And it's something that we wanted to continue for this season. Unfortunately, with the damage to the road at West Point, the dock there is not taking any tours or events for this season. And we've been doing our best and exploring every different channel, trying to find a way to bring passengers over there and to even just use the West Point dock if we were getting the passengers there a different way. And it's sounding like it's a no from them. So I know that we've been talking about, and then there's language that was sent over about C Street, not or only using the Cold Spring dock, only docking in Cold Spring 1 day a weekend. And we didn't have any issue with that when we were putting together our schedule for this year, as we were able to do, I think, more than that last year. And this year, our plan was to actually, every time we did the Cold Spring trip, we wanted to add a West Point tour because it's been so popular and people have been so happy with it. So we wanted to do that as much as possible, but it's now looking like we won't be able to offer these West Point tours for this season. So we'd still like to come to Cold Spring. It's just that we're not able to have this workaround and use the West Point dock this year. So just wanted to bring that up and make everyone aware of that. If we find another solution, we're still pursuing a couple different options. We possibly could move the boat over to Bear Mountain during the day. I'm waiting to hear back from the group over there. That's a possibility. I just don't have all of the information there yet. Hopefully I will hear tomorrow morning.
Board members?
So what are you proposing at this point, since the plan that we were aiming for is no longer, what would you like to propose at this point?
So I'd like to send over dates that we'd like to come to Cold Spring. I know we were talking about dates a couple months ago. So most of those, there are a couple in September that we'd like to remove, just because we're the boat that we'd use for this is entering a dry docking period. But all of the dates, Friday through Sunday, on the Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays, so the weekends, October, November, we'd like to come up to Cold Spring, but we wouldn't be able to keep that boat anywhere but the Cold Spring dock for the day. It's looking like. The other kind of notes that we were talking about, I mean, the docking fees, those are okay with us. The limit on the number of passengers, 400, we're okay with that. Cancellation fees for the season, that's fine. It's just that 1 point on keeping the boat somewhere else for 1 day a weekend. I don't know if we're going to be able to fulfill that, and we'd still like to come to Cold Spring. But it's just because of this issue over at West Point. It doesn't look like it'll happen for the season. Now, next season, I'm optimistic that they're saying that everything's going to be fixed, and we're going to try to do as many West Point tours as possible when we come to Cold Spring. That's the plan. We'd like to bring these trips back. It's just for this season. Wondering if there's any kind of workaround or any kind of, easement of that point that we were discussing.
I will say that I did follow up with the superintendent's office at West Point, and they are hopeful too, to have the dock back and working in their roadway back in working order for next season. They see this as a temporary condition while they're recovering from storm damage, just like we had to do, but worse, way worse.
So it sounds like then September is kind of off the plate now. Is all of September?
Not all of September. I need to send you dates. There are a couple dates, a couple Saturdays in September that we'd like, but then all of the dates in October and November that we discussed, we'd still like to do. Yeah.
Go ahead.
The question to the board then would be, do we want to consider allowing docking more than one day a weekend? And we have to consider the revenue plan that the village needs.
Yeah, I mean, we need this revenue. I understand concerns that villagers have. I think we all, we love the open view, but we are reliant on this income stream right now. It's not ideal. Go ahead.
Sorry. If the boat docks, is it turned off while it's docked for the hours?
I believe they run a generator just to make sure that the air conditioning is running, and the crew will stay on the boat.
Is it an interior generator, or is it something that's heard from the outside?
It's not heard from the outside.
Okay. And that would be the same no matter which vessel you're docking, that the engine would not be, the sound of an engine running, whether it's a generator or the motor, would not be.
It's not loud. I can check and get information on exactly what they'd be running, but these boats are, in the same state that they would be in Cold Spring at our docks here, and you can't hear anything while they're not,
One of the issues that was raised recently by a member of the public was the carbon footprint of an engine operating while it sits, which is why I think the question was raised. So I think that I hear you confirming that the engine does not run. There is a generator that runs, and it's internal to the vessel.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's obviously no access on and off the boat while the tour is in Cold Spring, right? Once they're off until
No. Yeah, they don't get back on. Yeah.
Dock is locked, right? And the gangplank gets pulled up.
And there's no chance for anchoring a little ways off. Is that a possibility?
The boats, I got more information on this today and was talking to our marine operations team. And the boats aren't set up for anchoring. I mean, they're really high-speed commuter boats. They never anchor. There's an emergency anchor in place, but that's not something that we can activate. And then the depths and the consistency of the seafloor in the Hudson, the team really doesn't like anchoring there, and they do not want to do that.
Okay. So there is the possibility of Bear Mountain, but we don't know that today. So we have in front of us the question of whether we say yes to 3 days, fewer days, some days. We are looking at, James, you said that in your letter to us, you said that you're comfortable with the rates we've established for this season, for docked and undocked. So that is more income that we did not have last year. So that balances out some. So we have to weigh the boat docked versus an impact versus income.
And the timeline for making a decision, so we're not making a decision tonight. We'll get a proposed schedule back from you, James, in the next couple days.
I'll have
Maybe
it tomorrow morning. Yep.
Great, and I'm gonna go up Bear Mountain, and then we would make a decision, say, at a meeting next week, or.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to give James a direction so he knows
Yeah.
how much. Sorry?
Yeah.
What he's
proposing.
proposing, right, so I think the question that we should be asking is, amongst ourselves is, do we feel comfortable with going forward with James's request, doing 3 days a week, November, 2 days a week? 3 days a week in October, 2 days a week in November, and 1 day for 2 weekends, sounds like in September? Is that
Yes,
about right?
yes.
And in that new schedule, we would lose several days out of September. Was September 3 days a week, right?
I think that that's what we submitted, but it wasn't finalized. And
Right.
now talking to the team, it's
That was what we had been discussing,
yeah.
using 4 days off of September. And the question is, do we feel comfortable with 3 days in October and 2 days, 3-day weekends in October, 2-day weekends in November?
What are, and the 2 days in November are Saturday and Sunday?
How big is the boat?
That's it. Our clerk is asking a question, asking how large the boat is.
141 feet, I believe.
Looking back at last year.
I'm
That's
trying
not what it was.
to change the spreadsheet.
So last year we had not to exceed 132 linear feet. So you're talking about a larger vessel, but the same person cap?
It's a different, yeah, the way they measure it is different. It may be 132 by the Coast Guard regulation.
Right, whether it's deck or
yeah.
water line.
Right.
So that would be
I think that would be
good to
important.
confirm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we had limited it to under 150, that was kind of our cap, but their boat was smaller.
Mhm.
Do we have, what would be the end date in November? Are you, how far into November? I'm looking, what we have, that I'm looking at now goes until the 12th. Is that better? A holiday weekend.
Right. We were discussing the 12th was the last day.
So the other thing that we have to be, I think we have to be very pragmatic and realistic about is that we are behind schedule getting the parking meters in. So the revenue that we estimated starting in September for parking is not starting in September. We're talking about a potential income of almost $46,464 with those dates, right?
And I based that on 22 dates.
22 dates. Now, that doesn't mean there won't be cancellations in there, but if every date were to be achieved and C Street were to arrive and dock, that's what we're talking about. And realistically, what we budgeted for income is going to have shortfalls until the parking meters are up and going. That's just real. And you know, I feel like we are in a transition year where we're trying so hard to get this off the ground finally, and recognize that it does have impacts. We also just went through, all of us in the Hudson Valley just went through a treacherous storm, and this is one of the very real impacts, is sort of pivoting to deal with circumstance. So because of all of those reasons, you know, I don't love having the boat docked there, but I am more comfortable than I would be under normal circumstances, given what we're trying to accomplish, budget wise. And that's not, you know, I know that's going to make some people unhappy, but it's just real at this point, budget wise.
I would agree with that. And I know that it's a major concern of our residents down there. And we did everything we could avoid to avoid it. It wasn't, this is like,
Right, we're not
we're
opting
in a
in.
situation where we don't really, and I think James was he was there with us, ready to like make that happen and meet the requirements, but.
Well, and if, with any luck, Bear Mountain will come through. So you think that you'll know by the end of the week?
Yeah, she said tomorrow, so yeah, hopefully the end of the week.
Would it be helpful to have advocacy?
At this point, no, but I'll let you know.
Okay,
I hear the points. I feel like 3 days a week, every weekend all fall is just a lot. I think it's a lot. And I think
October.
like,
October. Just
Only
October.
October,
but still, but it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And some of November,
November's 2 days.
it's just 2 days. I think it's a lot. And I think like we have to balance it. It is a part of the budget, but our budget is a lot bigger than that. And I'd have a hard time supporting the 3 days a week
Well,
in October.
it doesn't have to be all in,
Oh,
on
I think
this,
like
because
if it's
you've got-
something like 2 days, yes.
because we have set a higher linear foot rate, right? You will achieve the numbers sooner. Did you run the math today when you were looking at?
I didn't have a time.
Okay. So you know what I'm saying? We could potentially achieve setting aside, we've got a cancellation fee, which we didn't have in place last year. With the higher charge per linear foot, it may be that there's a sweet spot that gets us closer to the number we were hoping for with fewer days. So we can
Yeah.
run those numbers and make an informed decision.
And the fact that they're all the docked fees, which are higher,
Mm-hmm.
makes a difference.
Yes, that
too,
does
right?
make a difference.
I think we could certainly get to our budget, our planned budget item with a number of those dates removed, a handful of those dates. It's just whether we were trying to get higher, that might be hard.
So I think there's a big piece of information that we need, and that if you say that likely it will be tomorrow, I think that's
The Bear Mountain
Yeah.
piece, yeah.
I think it's safe to like go ahead and propose a new schedule and do that with the information about Bear Mountain. And then we can make a decision, because I think that's a really big, it's
Well,
a really big difference. If that's possible, then 3 days a week and it's not docking here.
Yeah,
It's
of
great.
course.
I mean, it's still a lot, but it's, at least it's not a boat sitting there. Because I do think it is visually a lot, to have it there all weekend. I mean, for the entire community, not just for the people who live
Yeah,
down there. So
for sure.
I would really love to hear about Bear Mountain before I.
Agree. Yeah, I don't think we're under pressure to make a decision tonight, but we need to talk about the option.
Yeah.
Does that help give you some guidance?
Yeah, that's helpful. So if we hear from Bear Mountain tomorrow and I get you that information, how soon after that will we be able to like define the schedule and get the contract signed? Because we have to start selling tickets soon. It's, less than a month.
When are you looking to start in September? Now,
I need to get that, but probably September 23rd.
today we're at the 6th. So we are in session next on the 13th. The contract will consist largely of the language that existed last year. It's not, last year we were restructuring the contract. This year it's getting the dates and the prices to align with whatever the final outcome was. So it's not the same legal contract jump that it was before. So I feel as if we can turn it around with reasonable speed. Go ahead.
James, do you think you could get us an updated proposal for dates and docking locations by Friday this week.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll table this discussion to next week's session. Go ahead.
We're gonna need to have a signed contract by what, like the 20th? So we have 2 weeks? Like if next week. we
Well,
make a
he needs to be able to
decision-
start, he needs to be able to start advertising.
Right.
James, ideally, when would you launch your ticket sales? Hi, Bugsy.
Uh, as soon as possible, and I know that you need information from me, but you know, ideally, you know, this week or early next week.
For September, though, you're only proposing 1 day a week, which is what we already approved, right?
In concept, but we haven't done it, we haven't
We
done
don't
a
have a
contract.
contract, but we had approved 1 day a week docking. So I wonder if we could allow him to sell tickets for September 1 day a week, since that's not really in contention.
I don't feel comfortable doing that without a contract.
Okay.
Also, like. Yeah. That's right.
Okay.
I appreciate your creative thinking.
I'm just trying to help make this work for everybody, but I feel like we're gonna need to sign that contract or approve the mayor to sign the contract next week, like Wednesday. So that's like a real push. Like, we know how fast things move around here.
Well, but like I said, we've got the bones of the contract here. It's a matter of getting dates from James that we can consider. And the second piece of information, which is docking. Now, because of this conversation tonight, we have a sense that some of the items that were up for discussion in the contract are acceptable to C Street, and that is the rates of $11 per linear foot undocked and $16 linear foot. This letter tells us he agrees to that. C Street will maintain the limit of 400 passengers per ship, 1 ship per day. So that's checked. C Street agrees to the cancellation fees of half the docking fee. So the elements that were significant and the change, which was the cancellation fee, they've agreed to. So there's not, right now it's down to days and docking.
If we land, I'm just thinking of the process, if we can land those days and the docking next week, then we can authorize you to sign the contract.
If we have a draft of the contract for us to see.
We need a draft before we can authorize, even if we have all the points.
Right, and you don't authorize me to sign it, you need to review
Have a
it, yeah.
contract ready. Okay, so that's why I'm thinking,
Yep.
it's gonna take longer than just 1 week.
Well, an option, we could do a business meeting. If we need to have the discussion Wednesday night, we could schedule a business meeting for Thursday or Friday to do that authorization if we're ready.
Could you you could also draft the contract based on the dates that James provides, and then if we just, in our discussion, change our minds, we can do
markup,
we
right.
can do a markup and then adopt the markup.
Yes,
So we could do the prep,
agreed,
but not make any assumptions that that is the final contract that would be.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Seems to me the only issue that the board needs to agree on is whether the board's willing to waive the 1 day a weekend
right.
docking. Everything else is C Street
That's right.
has agreed to, so it's just one,
Does the contract have dates in it?
yes.
So we have to agree to that too.
But in order to set up the
Yeah.
contract, we need to know whether we're willing to allow 2 days a week, 1 day a week, 3 days a week. Like, these are the 3 options on the
I
table.
think your point is
I'm
put them
saying
all in the
write-
text.
Write the contract based on what James sends us. And then that's what's up
And then
for
that's the
discussion,
markup.
and then we mark it up if we change it.
But
we
if he
change it.
sends us that, if you can't get docking elsewhere, then that's a discussion we
Yeah.
have to have.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
I just,
we can't mock up a contract based on that
why not?
3 days a week, because we
Well,
haven't
that's
agreed
why,
on that.
that's why Laura's, in the same way that last year's contract was structured with the individual dates identified,
Mhm.
she's saying, lay it out in that way, And then
cross
land,
it out.
exactly, and
Okay,
land
yeah,
on the
yeah,
date.
yeah. Because we can't do that outside of public session, so we can't do the prep work between now and next week, but we could do that, you know, in a very working meeting way,
Mhm.
do it in front, you know, and then.
Right.
Well, the contract usually gets drafted by a trustee with the clerk or with the village attorney. And then
Yeah.
the draft is given to all of us to review.
Yeah.
So I think we're maybe overcomplicating.
Yeah.
What
think
is, what is quite a simple decision.
And I think James.
Just I have one question. So were the dates that we submitted a couple months ago, were those approved? And then all of the points about the docking fees? Well, my question is, if we're able to secure landing at Bear Mountain once per 3-day period, are we set to go? Has all of that been approved? Like if Bear Mountain's okay and we can move the boat out on Fridays, then are we good to go? Is that less work? Because
Well, we talked about pulling out Labor Day. We're past Labor Day.
Yeah, but I think the answer is that we didn't vote on those dates. I think we came to like a overall, sounds like something to move forward as a board, but we didn't vote. So I don't think we could say that those proposed dates are approved yet.
No, we had discussed them. We approved in concept with the
Yes.
contingent that they would be docked elsewhere.
Yes.
For one
So
day.
I
a
think
week.
that answers, does that answer your
It's the
question?
same dates, Laura. It's the same dates. It's just a question of the docking at this point.
yeah,
Same dates we discussed last time. And yes, we have not
But we
voted
did
on
not,
them.
but we did not vote on them yet. I
What the
think,
board voted on was to not do the August.
Yes, that's right.
Right, I thought we had approved the dates he had proposed or asked for, like all of them, with, like you said, that contingent that it's only docking one day a week.
We can go back and confirm with the vote, but my recollection is agrees with Jeff's that
Yep.
we approved, we said no to summer and we would continue discussing the fall.
Well, James, I mean, you're asking basically because you want to figure out if you can start selling tickets, right? I mean, that's the.
right. Yeah, I mean, the language that was provided to us is docking may occur only one day per weekend, but which day of the Friday through Sunday schedule is flexible. So is weekend referring to Friday through Sunday? And if we're able to secure docking elsewhere on Fridays, does that meet the requirement? Is my question, I guess.
Because Saturday and Sunday is, are you more or less likely to get docking on Saturday versus Sunday? I mean, versus Friday?
The only thing that's on the table is Fridays. We'll be able to
Okay,
get.
that's important to know. So
Friday.
that's 2 days in a row.
So that's different than what we had agreed to before.
yeah.
Right.
And when we said weekend in that phrase, that included the Friday. We intended that to
Those
mean the
3
3 days.
Right, that's what it sounds like, so.
So we could have, under that scenario, we could have ended up with a Saturday and Sunday if they were docking at West Point. We could have ended up with 2 days in a row. Ideally, you wouldn't James wouldn't aim for that. We would prefer to have a day in between, but it may not have ended up that way because it would have, he would have had to have coincided with West Point's schedule. Same situation here. Sounds like Bear Mountain's option is a Friday option. And so that leaves us with 2 days in a row, Saturday and Sunday, and there would be relief on Friday. Friday would be the relief day.
Right,
Accurate?
yes.
So that's where we are. I think your process proposal is good. I think we have to see what James finds out from Bear Mountain and we reconvene. Do you have capacity? You have the contract from last time to make that once we have dates from James.
Yeah. So we can work on that, that's fine.
So I think we table discussion of the contract until we have the dates, we have the proposed dates from James,
Dates and docking location.
dates and docking location.
Which I can update in the contract, or one of us can.
Turn it around as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And we'll turn around as fast as we can.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and work through this. And I totally understand your concern. And for the years I've been with C Streak, I've been working to find a solution so that everybody's happy here. And we were so thrilled to put together this West Point tour option because the people were so happy about it. And we were trying to, every day that we were in Cold Spring, we were trying to move the boat to West Point. And it just worked well, especially last year. We were up and running. And it's unfortunate what's happened, but we'll, certainly go back to this next year. It's just this one year. Taking people up to Cold Spring is a huge part of what we do in the fall. We have longtime, customers who love it, and we want to see it, continue. So thank you.
It's a reality of the environment we're in, right?
Yeah.
We're dealing with a storm climate, dealing with the repercussions of a storm climate. And I also think, James, if nothing else, it was worth having you come on and participate with us in a meeting so that folks in the public can see who you are, see you as a person, and not just the name C Streak. It is a family-owned business. It's nice to have you with us virtually this evening. Thank you for giving us your time in the evening.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good night.
Yep. All right. Bye.
Bugsy, if you were coming on for Bobcat repairs, we approved those.
So I think Jake.
I know, but I'm just letting him know we approved the Bobcat repairs. He's here with us, Bugsy. And now moving on to Justice Court audit. So this happens annually. It's a requirement under New York state law. I don't remember who participated in it last year. Yeah, I actually think it's a really cool
Yeah.
thing.
The audit committee.
It's the same committee that reviews bills, etc. So do we need to read this into the record or simply acknowledge that we've received it?
Now that we received it, and then Laura and Kathy need to schedule time with Kathy and the judge.
So do you need a vote accepting it?
Okay, just
Okay, so I'll make a motion to acknowledge receipt of the request for a justice court audit from New York State. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Can I just ask about when does that take place, Jeff? Or when does it, do you know when it needs to take place?
over the next month. And they're pretty flexible, just as long as we don't try and schedule.
Kathy's got it down to a science at this point. with
She does,
documentation.
she's so organized.
Okay. Next, excuse me, next is approval of new hire for highway department. This is a new position to open with a departure of another employee. I did not meet Jake Laria, but Bugsy did. Bugsy, do you want to the deputy clerk, Deborah, did call his references. And I did speak to someone who knows him in the county highway department. Do you want to give us your sense of Jake, Bugsy?
Sure. I met with Jake, interviewed him. He's a very eager kid from what I got from his references and from Tom Fury in the Putnam County Highway Department. He's very good at machinery. He's a very hard worker, shows up day in, day out. His biggest concern was winter, if we'd actually have things to do. And I thought he was worried about being laid off, but it seemed he said he doesn't want to sit idle at all. It just makes the day go too long. He seemed very good. And if you guys agree to hire him, we'll see what we get. But I think we'll do very well with him. He's plowed. He's done machine operating, zero turn, bobcat, backhoe, excavators, loaders. He's done all that. He has a class A CDL.
Yeah. So
I think he will be a good fit.
yes, agreed. So it's a proposal of $20 an hour plus $2 for the CDL license, which is per the employee handbook. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve of the new hire for highway department for Jake Laria. $20 an hour plus $2 for CDL, or $2 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Get him rolling, bud.
Thank you, folks. I'll let them know.
Have a good night. Next is 2 rec applications. We have the event coordinator here with us tonight. Want to talk us through these, Lillian? 923 and 10-1. Anything we need to know?
The one on 9/23 is for a birthday party down at Mayor's Park using the pavilion.
Which, by the way, all of the post-storm electrical repairs and sewer repairs are complete. So, and Central Hudson has okayed the return of power there. We still have parking lot work to do, but the pavilion is functioning.
There will be a bouncy house at that event. They have provided us with all the necessary insurance and everything for that. All the paperwork is in. The rec commission saw no problem with it pending the repairs being done at Mayor's Park. So it's up to you guys.
Okay, well, I would, given all that, make a motion to approve the Connell birthday party on 9/23.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the next looks to be the same family, but a different kind of event.
Mr. Connell belongs to a soccer league and they would like to have a soccer social down at the park on 10/1. This application is also pending the approval from Haldane for them to use the field. But I believe that Mr. Connell is going to want to have his social, even if the field isn't approved, and just use the pavilion area with the area behind the pavilion as their pickup soccer little game. So,
Just for clarity, our intermunicipal agreement with Haldane has during identified periods, Haldane has exclusive use of the field. So if someone wants to use the field, we refer that request to Haldane. Haldane approves it. What's before us tonight is, as Lillian said, for the pavilion portion only. And I'm comfortable with it. I think it's great. It's a men's and women's pickup league that seems to be thriving.
There's a request for the Mayor's Field Park too, so we could maybe approve it pending.
Pending Haldane's,
Mhm.
yep.
well, my concern with that is that if Haldane says no, the field,
Well, two pieces. It's, yes, we're comfortable using the pavilion portion if that ends up being the only location. And if Haldane approves the field, we're okay with the field.
Mhm.
Right. So that's the motion.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thanks a lot, Lillian.
I want to send that one happy email that says, you're good.
Yeah, the best part. Okay, approval of bills.
Oh, can I do EV charger? Do we talk about after bill?
Just do bills and then get that done.
I'll make a motion to approve batch 7039 in the amount of $91,918.09.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, EV chargers.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Quickly, we are looking now at how we can get a better bang for our buck by not installing one charger, but by installing multiple chargers to make use of one Central Hudson grant that we get to cover installation. And how we could potentially use a company that does kind of end-to-end project management and installation rather than trying to figure all this complicated stuff out ourselves. So that's what I started to look at, talked to a company that seemed potentially good, and said that they'd like to do a site visit and asked to identify a number of sites. And so and ideally they're gonna come, I think, next week. So I wanted to get a kind of a thumbs up about some potential sites. Mayor's Park had been the original one. We have concerns about flooding there.
Well, and
But
we
we
need
could
it-
still explore flooding and repair of the culvert, but potentially we could move it somewhere away from the culvert. I don't know where that is yet.
Well, the challenge is that the culvert runs the length of the
entire-
parking lot all the way underground, and we don't know which, at this stage, which portions of it are gonna need to be replaced at this time or not. So that's, in my mind, that needs to come off the table.
Okay.
Just because what's the point of installing it and having to remove it?
Yeah, so I think, well, then we need to brainstorm quickly a third place, because I think that we want to give them a number of sites, because we may want to have it in a number of locations, and some of them may not pan out, so we should have a few sites. So another one is the municipal parking lot. That's where we started.
Mhm.
We were told by Central Hudson that the box is full or something, and the EV charger person thought that sounded strange. She was surprised to hear it, so maybe we misunderstood, but that makes me feel like it's 50-50 whether that site's gonna work. So again,
And
so
it's the most
we wanna
logical.
think of some more sites. And another one that I'm super excited about is the idea of doing it on Main Street, near a pole, not in a flood area, not in a place where there's super high traffic, and so that led me to propose by St. Mary's. And they would need to be probably single poles rather than the double chargers that are common because it's parallel parking.
So do you mean below the light on Main Street?
Below the light on Main
Where,
Street.
where the
kind of
village
by
controls?
Yeah, where the village controls. Across from the mayor's lawn, from St. Mary's lawn. But would love to think of other ideas. Some of the other ones that she proposed aren't village property. And I think, so that was, she had mentioned, Haldane and the library and TA lot. I think doing an intermunicipal agreement is possible, but in our past experience with the town, it gets complicated. And
Yeah.
so if we can find ones that are on village property, it's just, it makes it more straightforward.
How about that spot? We have 4 spots right in front of the visitor center.
I don't think we own.
We own 4 spots.
4 spots.
In, right? Is that what clerks making faces?
I don't, you know what, it's a question mark. I don't know if we have an easement to use those for, if they're easement or,
We have a survey. Honestly, I should have thought to bring it in tonight. I didn't. I can't remember without looking at the survey again where the line is. I have a feeling that that's another one of those locations in the village where we said, yeah, village can be in charge of those 4 spots. And then nothing was papered. So we'd have to look into that, but I think it's something that we should look at as an option to see what's possible. Just for clarity, when the railroad sold the depot building back in the 20s, they sold the building and the street. So that we don't own that parcel, the street there belongs to the depot.
Yeah.
So for the public who's.
How about next to the Tots Park? On High Street, where it's facing houses, but there's no houses. Like, I think part of the thing is you don't want to put it in front of anyone's house.
Well, remember that the parking, when we come to public hearing, I think that the parking is proposed to move across the street so that there's clearance on the park.
On that block, but I was thinking on one of the.
Oh,
blocks,
High Street, sorry.
either High Street or Northern.
All right, here's one more to throw out. It would be, well, actually, that's not a good idea. I was thinking of down on Market Street, there's a corner lot we own that is an undersized lot. Right at the corner of Market and Northern. Market and New. But it doesn't hitch past the flood zone.
I looked at anything, I looked above the tracks. What about 301 above the light?
We own just the 301 above the light would have to be DOT.
Oh, that's you.
But we do own a parcel in a residential area at the corner of B Street and Mountain. That is, again, an undersized lot. It's next to Charlotte and John Lane's house. So small rectangular lot that is currently, they came in and talked to the tree board about using that area as a pollinator garden. So it's kind of a wild parcel right now. But it's in a residential, I mean, if the goal is to provide, if among our goals, we have the idea that we provide more chargers for residential use, that may be a viable option because it's in a residential neighborhood. And we're not talking, I think, I guess we'll have to find out, but I think we're not talking about a massive structure. We're talking about a parking space.
Yeah,
right?
but probably paid.
I mean, that's on the, right?
Yeah.
We have to talk about it.
Yeah.
We throw out the ideas of what property we
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
One thing we might have to consider too is if we're putting residential permit parking on so many of these side streets, then would putting it on a resident street make sense? Same problem with Tots Park.
Because it take a spot.
Because it would, because only residents allowed using it with a permit, or?
I think we'd have to figure that out. We did get, recently a villager was traveling in London and sent an image of a charging lot in a residential, where you had to have a residential parking permit to use the lot. Another variation on this, which Laura and I heard about tonight, was Butterfield, the condominium association at Butterfield is installing 4 electric chargers. In the space between building 1 and building 2, there's parking that has not yet been available because it has not yet been fully developed. But 4 of those spots will be 4 of the spots will have two spots,
4 chargers.
dual chargers, 4 total.
Yeah.
4 spaces with 2 chargers. And they will be available to the public for a fee and for Butterfield residents at a discount.
Yeah.
So, that's an example of public and private capacity.
And to act for the kinds of grants that we're looking at, they need to be publicly accessible so that the resident only parking could be an issue. But creating something where it's publicly accessible, but we have one price for residents, another price for non-residents if possible.
So you would be visitors would be subsidizing resident use.
That's right.
I mean, to me, the municipal lot still makes the most sense. I didn't fully understand why, I mean, other than the cost of extending the electric. But if we have a 90% grant from
Yeah.
some, I keep wanting to say Con Ed, and it's
Yeah.
not Con Ed. I think 20 years later, I get it. I think it's worth revisiting. And to me, that seems like the most logical spot.
So I'll look at.
Oh, what about, oh no, sorry, below the flood line again.
I'll look at the visitor center area, see if that could make it. You have a survey? I mean, otherwise
I actually have it in my desk.
Okay, so maybe I can.
Yeah.
Check with you. And then, so that could be one site, potentially Main Street and, the municipal lot.
And I think that you should have on the table, just for consideration, B
The
and
B.
Mountain.
I'll show it to her and see, it may be. Find out.
I'm not saying that
Yeah.
it's the place, but it's,
Yeah.
if we're talking about just throwing ideas out,
Yeah.
it's an idea to throw out and there,
Yeah,
brainstorming.
yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Public comment. I think you're the last one standing, Mr. Ulmer. Anything from you? By
I
Lillian?
think Mr. Turton's involved in this as well, isn't he?
Oh, that's true. He's like,
He's good.
you're kind of like the background at this point, Michael.
Oh, don't say that.
Oh, in the best way, the best background ever. What's up?
Who's up first?
I would, go ahead, Michael.
Oh, did you have something, Mr. Ulmer?
I did. If you're gonna make a
Go
vote
ahead.
between, at the B and Mountain location, if you're making a choice between charging stations and pollinating garden, I'd go for the latter. The second thing is if, the social consciousness, the environmental consciousness comes into the C Streak discussion, which I've mentioned before, and I'm not against the C Streak, but, I think sometimes to be green, you gotta have a little inconvenience. And we're talking about moving the boat after it drops people off, driving it to Bear Mountain to park, and then driving it back with no real passengers on it, I think, unless they build that into their itinerary for, the convenience of folks that don't want to see the boat. And I understand that. I understand the village revenue issue as well. It's an important aspect of the village's revenue. But if we're seriously committed to environmental responsibility, we might just say, look, let's just take the Bear Mountain parking off the table and we'll just have to live with a little inconvenience. Because it does add to the footprint. There's no doubt. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Point very well made. Thank you very much. Michael?
Two things. Is there any new signage this year for the trolley, including QR codes that actually work?
So the 2 new signs that are in the village are the result of a meeting with Parks, Transportation, Sheriff's Department, CSPD, me, the legislator, and the supervisor. We approved our portion, which is the 2 new locations in the village. It was the Transportation Department needed to move forward with securing the signage and the locations outside of the village. We don't have any control over the Metro North lot, nor do we have it on 9D. So that's a question that you could ask the Transportation Director. It's not one I can answer. We did our bit. The QR codes have been replaced. I
Okay,
actually have not tried them since they were replaced. Does anyone else?
what are the two village locations then?
At the dock, near where the bike rack is currently, and at the end of Lund Terrace, at the stop sign, when you come off Lund and you turn onto Main, back from that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Then, second
But
question.
there also, Michael, also, the other piece that was supposed to happen and has not is signage for the trolley itself. And the chamber did put forward, a design scheme for signage on the trolley, but it's still no one knows where it goes.
Okay, and then the other question is, will the village, the mayor, the board be commenting at all about well, two things, about the concerns raised by somebody about complaints about the Cold Spring Police Department, but also will there be a comment on that person's methods for gathering information in the village during Community Day when he was interviewing various people on Main Street, ostensibly about the police department? Will you be commenting on that?
Not at this time. The village does not make comments on ongoing investigations or on personnel matters. In terms of Community Day, there are many things I'd like to say, but I don't think that gentleman deserves our attention. So no, I don't have anything to say.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
That's it.
Okay, thank you so much. Oh, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, but we'll see next
Oh,
time.
no, don't say anything.